Like, in Delhi, I've had multiple instances of people pulling out a gun at me, which
Oh,
has
fuck
never
me.
happened somewhere. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I once went to eat butter chicken and I was coming out, and this guy is completely smashed on like cocaine and like alcohol. And he comes out of his car and he's like, Zulfi, Zulfi, and he starts touching my hair. I'm like, Kya kar raha hai, bhai? Then he's like, Kya bandook ke dar gaya? He takes out a gun
Fuck.
on my chest. And this is right outside a place where I've just had dinner. So Delhi is a different scene, dude.
डिनर के
And
बाद
then
गोली.
Gurgaon is even worse. Like, and I've studied in Gurgaon. So after
Yeah.
that, you go anywhere alone. You don't feel scared of anything. You're like, kitna bura hoga,
मार देगा
you
और क्या
know?
होगा.
People everywhere else seem to have a sense of space. Like Delhi is not like that. Delhi is a wild place.
Sunday morning, I woke up in flight. You were sleeping as I took to the sky. And I don't even care if you don't anymore. And I don't even care if you don't anymore. Find our circles that are peeling, 'cause the edges are alive. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore.
Okay, so hello, the good people over the internet. Today we have with us none other than, like, this man doesn't need an introduction, the one and only Arsh Sharma from FuzzCulture. As usual, I wouldn't take any
Hello.
more time. Yep.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I've cut you in the intro itself, so we know how this is gonna go. I'm so sorry. Let's go on. Yeah, chalo.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, the burning question I had even before starting this podcast, like I ask this to every artist, musician, creator, entrepreneur, whoever comes to this podcast,
Yeah.
is take us through your childhood memories and like what were your influences? Like, were you born into a musical family? When did you take up music and like overall that journey?
Yeah, so I'm not born into a musical family at all. My dad's an architect, my mom's a doctor, and we've got a lot of extended family, but not a musical family at all. And when I was a kid, I think I was a bit of a bullied kid. Felt a little misunderstood. So, you know how music for a lot of people is about communication, getting with their friends. Like, so a lot of people's influences when they're young are derived from what their friends listen to, right? But for me, since I felt like a bit of a loner, I didn't really want to. Like it was like that if I can't connect with you, fuck you. And I think I had that feeling very very young. Like I would say, as young as 7 or 8 years old. It was extremely young, right? So I would just like to so I got into horror movies like majorly at that time because there were creepy people out. So I was like, if they're bullying me, at least if people are gonna call me weird, might as well be as weird as possible, right? Why be minorly weird? So so I got into horror movies, and from there I gravitated towards old school metal because that's what was available at the time. Because it was still the times of cassettes. This is pre-streaming, pre-Napster, like I would say also. So I started liking the imagery of skulls and that comic book type of vibe that old school metal used to have. So when I was very young in my one of the classrooms, I saw Megadeth like a logo
Yes.
scrawled on a table, and I was like, "This looks cool, man." So I went and I was like, "What is this?" And I went and online. That was the first computer we'd gotten on. And that time, Amazon.com was on. You didn't even have Google, so Yahoo search and Amazon was
Okay.
only
Yep.
never.
Yahoo. Huh?
Yeah. So I searched for Megadeth and okay, this looks cool, and the music was fucking intense, right? And I was like, this is cool. This sounds like something no one will like. So let's listen to this.
This is my
So
way to
my first
actually.
entry into music, yeah.
This is my
So
actually
it
way
my
to listen to
yeah.
metal and सब भड़ास वहाँ पे निकालो.
Yeah. And also it was a part of also in school and with my friends, it was a part of that. Yeah, I'm not a part of you, and I don't want to be a part of you. And I think that's been and so I took that when I was bullied as when I was younger. to it being like, yeah, like I don't actually care about you at all. Like I don't like, like for example, I see with a lot of people who have been bullied when they're young. They try their best to change themselves. They try new fashion. They try songs that people like to try and fit into the group, right?
Mm.
Whereas for me, it was fuck you, because you try to see my dick in the bathroom and put my head and try to lock me inside the loo. So I don't want to be your friend, dude. You're a piece of shit. So obviously what you like is probably bullshit as well. So fuck you and your pop
So
music. And
being
that was
being
the
a friend
thing.
of you is also of no use.
Yeah, because you're a shit person. Like anyone who
Yep.
locks you in the bathroom when you're 9 years old, like if you're 13
Yeah,
and you
I
want to
get.
pick on a 9 or a 10-year-old guy, you're a piece of shit human being. You can't, your parents are probably shitty. You're probably shitty. And like everything about, matlab, your upbringing is shitty and whatever you're going to grow up to be is shitty. So why would I want to be like,
Exactly.
so my thing was that so very young, I was like, I don't want to fit in with you guys at all. So I shifted into like, at least like till the end of school, like it was a lot of like horror and old metal, death metal music because, and at that time, because of a lack of exposure, there were no communities. So I felt kind of cool and alone in my sense. So like cool in the sense of, okay, yeah, I'm listening to shit that no one listens to, and I would go out of my
Yeah.
way. So when I was really young, then my mom was very supportive about this. So she used to take me to Planet M. So there was a death metal section which they started because I was the youngest 10-year-old, 11-year-old going there and being like, I want the latest Obituary CD. I want
Oh my
Cannibal
God.
Corpse. Like I want death. I want like, like old school 90s death metal. Like I was looking for the Emperor CDs. Then when I couldn't get them, then I had a tuition center. Then next to it, there was a piracy guy. So I has to go to him and tell him, okay, if you can get me fake CDs of this shit, that'll be great. So I started all of that. And then a bunch of people started listening to music around when I was doing. So that was my introduction to music, was mainly, I would say, a form of rebellion, at least when I was, and it was very young rebellion. It wasn't like college rebellion. It was like prepubescent rebellion, So I was a very angry childhood. Yeah, yeah. It doesn't look on my face, but I was, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can
So
feel it. I
that
can feel it.
was, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was like, that was what really got me into music. Then, of course, metal is a very like proficient genre, right? So like the guitar and the bass really attracted my attention. I tried to find musicians. A
And then
friend
the
of mine was a
drums.
drummer. Yeah, so Srijan from Parikrama, who was in
Oh,
FuzzCulture for a
okay.
long time with me as well. Him and me started playing together. We grew up together. We picked
Wow.
up the drums. I picked up the guitar. We started jamming together. Another friend of mine called Bacchus. He plays in a band called the Belief Experiment in Canada now.
Okay,
So
wow.
he was very cool. His family was very cool. So I used to go there and learn guitar playing and songwriting from him. And like, it was just like these three, four people who were like doing their own thing, which really excited me. So even when we started, I remember the seventh or eighth grade, we never did covers. We would go out and do originals like
Yep,
when we were
that's the
11 or
spirit.
12,
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like, even when the circus started later, if you know of the circus, I don't know if you know or not, or you might be too young.
Probably no. I
The
was
circus
probably
is my
not even
first
born then.
band. Yeah, the circus is my first act, and we've done the first three weekenders. We were on Channel V Launchpad. We found a
Okay.
lot of material online, right? When we started, we were like no covers, and that was the day when RSJ was doing gigs with covers. So we were one of the first
Yeah.
bands to be like, and that time was the thing of OCs. So everyone be like, this is our original compositions. We were like,
OCs, ha ha
everything
ha.
is an original composition. There is no cover here. So that's how I started. It was more of to find your own space than to
Yeah,
fit in. That was like my
exactly.
thing. So yeah. So unfortunately, because of that, a lot of basic pop chops and like a lot of those things got missed, and I'm learning that now. So it's very interesting. I've had a reverse journey. People start from simple music and go to complex music, like for music lovers.
You started
But
from
for me,
metal
it
and
started
coming
with
to.
very extreme, and now I'm almost like producing for pop acts and pop bands, and my act is like electronic.
Indie.
It doesn't even have guitars anymore. So it's like a very, it's an ulta journey, I would say, at some level. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Oh, really inspiring.
yeah.
So your influence was to a different kind of tastes altogether from the different students you had at a school. You started at a very early age, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. It
That's
was to
pretty much
just not
now.
listen to stuff. Yeah. Just like if everyone listened to a song, that's a song I don't want to listen to. Straight up. And like the first thing that really spoke to me was like the Metallica Reload album came out then, and the
Ah, Reload,
Megadeth
yeah.
Risk album came out. So it was 97 to 99. I would have been like 10 years old or 9, 10 years old. That's what really attracted me. And my local vendor used to keep it. So I used to save up my pocket money and be like, "Yeah, aap ye cassettes mere liye rakhna." And I will keep coming and buying these. So yeah, that was the early stuff. Yeah, for sure.
And getting all of those kind of friendly dealers when you're 9 or 10 is hard, man. It's like getting a
Yeah,
good
you
friend.
just have to. Yeah, so I was always like on the lookout for people. Like that's been my thing. Like I'm always on the lookout for things, and I'm always on the lookout for even still. I think that I'm on the lookout for just searching for the next thing. So like like even fast culture music is that's why unpredictable. I would say at some level. Like beside the
Yes,
fact that
yes,
I'll be
yes.
on it, it won't really follow a pattern, and that's deliberate. Like like I love subverting expectations. It's good. Although I don't know if anyone has any expectations, but if they have any, like I'm sure to disappoint you. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah, yeah,
So listen to the music with caution, huh?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like if you're open-minded, you like it. But if you are not open-minded, you won't. And that's been my thing. Like after a point where, especially like after like I grew up a little bit. I did some therapy, and I started liking people a lot more. Like the thing that really I think draws me to people now is their willingness to explore. I don't like elites of any type within anything. So as much as anyone you can learn from, and anything that which pushes your brain a little bit. So yeah,
Oh, oh, interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Probably I have a story with fast culture. The relationship between me and fast culture's music is kind of different. So what was happening was I was browsing some cartoons probably uh,
Huh, huh.
3 to 4 months back. Like I love cartoons. Come on,
Yeah,
I love Tom and Jerry.
yeah, yeah.
So I was
Cartoons are
browsing.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was browsing YouTube and I suddenly saw this song called Fast Culture Breeze, and
Huh.
the artwork looked cool, and I was
Yeah.
like I also I developed a good sense of music later on because at first
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah.
listen to Honey Sing and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. Then I came to
Yeah. Nice.
Lamb
Nice.
of God and Opeth
Huh.
and Led Zeppelin later on. Okay.
Nice. Good. Huh. I've
um,
gone from Lamb of God to Honey Singh, dude. Look at my life.
Fuck,
क्या हो
man.
गया ये?
Oh my god, that this transition is crazy.
Yeah, it's a bullshit transition. Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep,
Anyway, go
yep.
on. Huh.
Yeah. So I was browsing and I saw this artwork and it like looked really cool. And honestly, if I say this term indie, I got introduced
Huh.
to that term. It's probably been a year or less than a year, to be honest. Okay,
Nice,
and I
nice. Very
really
cute. Very nice.
like. Okay, you like me. Okay,
Huh.
I started exploring this entire word called indie, and I found out when Chime and Toast and other bands, and I love all of that music stuff.
It's an amazing world out there, man.
Yep,
It's the
yep,
world of actual
absolutely.
music in India. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly, exactly. So there's
yeah,
a
yeah,
story
yeah,
behind each song that goes on.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I thought I definitely need to click on this video. I have to. Like,
Huh,
no matter what the fuck
huh,
happens, I have to. I'll watch Tom and Jerry later.
huh,
And I clicked on
huh,
that. I listened to the song probably 4 to 5 times. Then I got to
huh.
understood, okay, no, the soundscape is not what we get to hear every day. Because I have
Yeah,
listened
yeah,
to
yeah.
your three of the albums full. All right.
Huh, huh. Oh,
Uh,
amazing, bro. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Huh,
Yeah, man,
huh,
beautiful music you have. And
huh.
I was through the different songs I was going. It's a different journey altogether. Like from Strange Cities to
Yeah,
Breeze, whatever you can name.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
different
yeah.
journey. So I was thinking,
Yeah, it's a
and
journey. Huh.
it's a question from my side, probably also the audience's side. Like I am sure you get like ask this question a lot.
Hmm.
How did you come up with this soundscape of fuzz culture's music?
See, I think it's a producer music. It's music I make as a producer, and it's music that I feel. So the first fan of it, firstly, like the way I look at it is that I have to be a fan of it. I don't care if like a label doesn't want it. I don't care if nobody wants to pick it up. I want to do this firstly to for music that I want to hear. So I
Uh,
make it firstly for myself. If I am happy, if I am satisfied, then I can give it to you because then I can even get behind it with my best intentions, right? So my first thing with this, so for that also, like fast culture has now been going on for 10 years, right? So we had
yes.
two records with Universal. We did Escape to Where You Wanted, which was this album we did for a label abroad, but then that didn't work out. So we released it independently. Then did Strange Cities, now did Breeze. So we've had like around 7 releases, and it's always been trying to capture wherever I am at that moment in time. So like, I'm not embarrassed about anything, and I don't like really want. I'm not the kind of guy who archives posts. Like a lot of people on Instagram.
I get
So
it.
even these I think as like life archives. This is what I'm into right now. This is the best I can do right now, and this is the way I would want to present it. So actually, the soundscape is something very interesting because I really don't think of it when I go into it at all. So when I wrote Breeze, if you can believe it, it's written on an acoustic guitar. And all my songs are written on an acoustic guitar and a piano, or my mouth, and they have like a little hook of me, like, or I'll play the guitar and I do a couple of chords, and I save them as like I have a huge bank of song notes,
Yep,
and
yep,
then
yep.
I
Snippets of
go on later
ideas.
and see, yeah, just ideas, tiny ideas, and then I say it also. This is a cool idea. Don't fuck it up. Like I leave myself a voice note also with things. So I have every day I'll be at least on my voice. If you go through my voice notes, every day I'm making 4 or 5 voice notes. I'm constantly making voice notes. It's just what I do, and I've realized chronicling that helps me because then I can listen to like all my ideas later and be like, oh, this seems cool, and I can take it somewhere, and then I think of the soundscape later. So I do. So for example, like if you're in a rock band or a metal band, I love metal. Like I'm a guy who's come from metal, but the problem with the genre, not the problem with the genre, but there's a limitation to those in the sense
Uh,
that when I start, I'm starting with a distorted guitar, and I'm starting with a type of audience, and I'm starting with the fact that I have a four-piece band, and I'm starting with like I'm trying to make the best song I can within the soundscape. Whereas for me, I'm trying to make the song and then explore the soundscape. So I'll make the song, and if then tomorrow we have a festival stage and need to hire a bunch of horn players, I'll hire that. If it needs to be nothing and just needs to be me DJing the set, I'll DJ the set. So like figuring out how to play it is secondary, and what are the elements that go out in it are secondary to actually making the song. So the first thing is just creating something that's interesting, and so it's definitely explorative. It's very I would say loner music. Like it's not stuff you can collaborate with people on because you're constantly shifting your own goalposts, right? So and I've tried collaborating in the past, but it generally don't doesn't work because people also like to get their careers involved, and like they want things to be a certain way, whereas I like to always shake it up, and like I would like to go out as someone like who might or may be known and may not be known as someone who's just constantly at least try to shake the structure of things or whatever it is, at least my structure of things, to be. And the only goalpost I have is to be not the same guy I was on the last release. So it's also got a
uh,
lot to do with personality development, with me accepting people a lot more. Like I've become somebody who it's taken me a long time in my 30s, so like me being a nicer, gentler human being, so the music shows it. Like when I'm angry, the music shows I'm angry, and when I'm like in a better space of mind, the music shows it. So I wanted to be a as honest representation of this without the outside world's influence on it, so that's the way I look at it. Yeah.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
interesting. And uh, what was the first song put out by First Culture? And take us through the making and processing of it.
So I'll tell you how FuzzCulture started. I was in my previous band, The Circus, and then Srijan, who's in Parikrama, him and me met, and I was writing a lot of these electronic signs on on the side, and I was kind of like I was in a bit of an angsty, weird place in life. So like a lot of my band members, like we have great friends now, but at that time, I don't think I was liked by a lot of my friends because I was a bit of a baki motherfucker. Like I'm very goal oriented. Okay, we need to get this done. We need to do this. And
Chill
I was
बाद में
really
करेंगे.
rigid at that point of time. Huh?
Chill बाद
Yeah.
में करेंगे.
No, I was rigid in the sense of okay, like we need to like everything needs to have purpose. Like if we are putting something out, like there needs to be some semblance of success with it. Like
Yep, yep.
like it can't be unsuccessful. I like for the fact that you even randomly stumbled upon it. That's a great thing, right? That means that we pushed it enough for it to come into your feed. Which is important. Like like so that level of promotion and stuff like with me is very hectic, and like so like we were having disagreements, so I was like, let me go back to my old school friend and try making music with him again. And I was just like and I was also at that time I was like 23, 24, and I'd just come out, and like I was just come out of architecture college, and I'm like I'm doing architecture as well. Like I've never had a job in my life. You know, architecture projects are just like projects I've done for people. Like I'm just like I get into like things like so I was like I have to sustain this, I have to make money. So I just wanted to create a band that was a dance act. So with Season, I was like, let's just make a act which is just pure for the dance floor, so we can get more gigs, and we can do that. But in the process of it, like when we started making the first 10 songs of FuzzCulture, were very dancey, straight up, that type dance music in 2012, which was like post Relax, like Feed Me, that type of stuff, which was out at that point of time. So in that realm, and also production was something I've been doing since I was like 15, 16 years old, like
Wow.
music
So a
production.
lot of experience.
Yeah. So even then, I had 8, 9 years of experience. So I was very interested in like just pushing this and doing it. But when it became like straight up dance music, I kind of started getting bored with its limitations, and I wanted to push it. So that's how the initial FuzzCulture started. The first FuzzCulture song was a song called "I See Ghosts," which was taken out in 2012, and it's only on SoundCloud. It's not on any streaming service.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, that's the first song we released, and before that there were 12 songs which we produced but never put out. I still have them.
12 songs.
Yeah. If you have no idea how big my music library is. I'll have like 500, 600 songs lying around right now. Like, so it's constantly, and I'm just constantly making music or like working with commercial clients or like making my own music. That's what I do, like workaholism. Like, yeah.
Wow. Like I've met few musicians who have 500 to 600 songs in their idea library.
Yeah, idea library will be huge, and 500 to 600 productions, I would say, which have been produced. Like half a song is there, vocals have been recorded, 80 layers of music are there. But I just
So
don't
you
think it's
are
good enough
thinking
to
of
put out.
the process of how to get things done a bit more.
Yeah,
better.
so it's done. Idea library would be much bigger. That has almost like
5
almost a
million.
TB of space on one computer. There's a hard drive dedicated to this idea. So,
Yep. I was just about to ask. So
yeah.
probably your phones or your computers storage is probably fucked up with all of the ideas.
Yeah, always fucked up. Always
Yeah,
fucked up, dude.
yeah. That's the sign of a musician. I have a really quirky question. How did you came up with the name FuzzCulture? Because it's such a unique name. It just stuck in your brain. It's like,
Yeah.
naam tha FuzzCulture.
So honestly, like when we were trying to name it, this was in 2011, and I was like, I'll tell you my basic thought, which was that I want to have a name which nobody else has. So, and if you've ever started anything, it's very tough to find a name which nobody else has. You
Which
generally
no
will
one has
find
taken
bands
already.
Yeah. So like I wanted to that if you type this search in the Google or if you go to Instagram,
500
like,
million pages.
if you write FuzzCulture, there can be nothing besides this.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So I was like at that time I was like the best way. So I was thinking of words, but then I realized every word's been taken up by some type of company or the other. So I was like the best way to do it is to combine two words and make them into a new word, right? So that could be a way that you come up with something which nobody else has. So fuzz was basically, if you hear old music, it has a lot of distortion, a lot of distorted synths also. I come from a metal background, right? And
So
making
those
electronic
influences are
music.
still there.
Yeah, so I was like, just the fuzz is like, is grit, like grit. And culture, like grit, like whether it's like sonic grit or emotional grit or you're great as a human being, right? So that fuzz is about just having some grit and like, just pushing things a little beyond what's expected. And the culture part of it was we want a piece of gear called the Thermionic Culture also, which is a channel strip. I don't know if you'll understand that, but it's an outboard compressor. It's a piece of studio equipment. So that's something I really wanted at the time. So I just took, and I love the word culture vulture. So I wanted to name it Culture Vulture Pele. Like that was my initial name for the act. But then I was like, let's do fuzz and culture. And I was like, it sounds cool. Plus it had two Z's. So I really like that, like, and the way it
That's
sounds.
your logo,
ZZ.
Like
Yeah. So the way it sounds, the way it looks, like, like I was like, there's something to this. So let's just keep it. And it's just stuck, And now it's stuck to like that being my name, virtually. Like,
Yep, exactly.
As a producer, Fuzz Bhai. Like that's
Fuzz
what
Bhai.
some other commercial artists who come and record with me call me Fuzz Bhai. Fuzz Bhai kar do na, done.
ठीक है पहले फर्स्ट भाई बोलना मत करो
Yeah, I like Fuzzboy, bro. I
yep
love
absolutely
Fuzzboy.
that's a sexy name
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
uh,
But then, like, what I tell a lot of people now, beach mein I had this era when I was just telling people that fast culture is about have the cultural context of never cutting your pubes and trimming them. So it was about don't shave but trim. So like in the middle, I made it like I've given wrong answers throughout my life for why I named it this. What I'm now I've started telling the truth. In the middle, I was like, it's just I'm promoting like not fully waxed bodies. So that was what I was. That was where my mind was
it's
in the middle.
interesting it's interesting
Yeah, yeah.
रात में
Okay.
सोना नहीं देगा ये अब सोचना पड़ेगा बैठ के
हाँ.
ये क्या बोल
Okay,
दिया
trim, don't wax, but
trim
trim.
don't wax yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty interesting yeah well it kind of shows that you were a different kid from your early childhood days huh?
Yeah, weirdo.
Yep,
Like
same as
just a
me the
fucking weirdo.
awkward kid who would sit at the first or probably the last
No,
bench
I didn't
and
sit at the back. I'm not a introvert at all. Like, so that's the weird thing. Like, that's
okay
why I could make all those connections with with those dealers and getting CDs in.
ah
Like, I'll sit on the front. I'll trouble you. I'll come into your fucking thing and trouble you. I'm not someone who sits on this, and I'm still not an introvert. Like, I like my space, but when I'm with a bunch of people, it's fine. I don't have any problem with making my presence felt. So, and that I've never had a problem with. So, I'm in like just a weirdo, but like I like myself, dude. I have no problems.
yep
Yeah.
we love fast culture and first bhai your new name
First boy, I love
first
you
bhai is
more.
here yes man
Uh,
so do you remember the first like when you thought that okay I'll do a one-man show or probably you were duo at the very first if I'm not wrong
yeah, we were a duo in the starting. Yeah, yeah.
okay so take us to that like how did the duo happen and how did you switch to single
So duo was like actually one of the first acts in India doing dance music with live drums and live guitars. So
okay
everyone was the DJ at that point of time, but we were like, you will get a drum kit on. I'll do like guitar playing, I'll sing, we'll have all our samples. So it was just a bigger thing. So we were like, hey, let's have that, but let's have like rock musicians making dance music vibe to this. So that's where we
wow
started from.
that's a unique
And
approach
that's what, yeah. So even so that's why like actually like if you see a lot of the electronic, like even though I'm like firmly in the electronic music sphere of things, but a lot of the traditional festivals, a lot of traditional bookings, I missed out also a lot on them. Like in my early days because of my want to just not come there with a CDJ and I want to like kind of do my own thing and express it in the way I wanted to do it. So it's got me a lot of like people who love the music. So like I'm very appreciative of everyone who listens. But like now, like I've set up like a CDJ DJ system also. So if anyone wants that to happen, that's also happening now. So it started like that. Then around 2019, I was in a partnership with Srijan. Like I was with another friend of mine who's one of my best friends right now, Nikhil, and like we still are. And we all came to Bombay from Delhi, and things led to things. Our studio broke up, our partnership broke up at that point in time. So Srijan, we separated on this as well. So I was like, you keep all the studio stuff, and this is you know me, like I've been writing this my entire life, so I'd like to continue. So he gave me a blessing, and he's a great dude for letting me do that. And I was like, now I don't want another partner. Like
anymore
I'll
huh?
do this on my yeah. Because I had a tough time because we done two records on Universal. I had partnerships. I
yeah
had then we done a record. Escape was done for a label abroad, and they had a lot of input. And I just got fried of the number of people giving me their opinions, on what because they were always like, "This is really good, and we can elevate it to the next level," but no one really managed to.
uh,
And when they were trying to manage to, they were trying to make me to someone who I wasn't at that point in time, and it's taken me a while to realize that this is maybe just a medium for me to express myself the way I want to express myself, however it is. So, which is why I've taken the independent stance pretty hectically right now. But I'm always open to change, dude. Tomorrow I could send a song to a bunch of
so
labels.
going out of the comfort zone
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, no. It wasn't really comfortable, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Like this is more comfortable for me. Like that
Okay.
much collaboration and that many inputs was not comfortable. Like
But
for
running
me,
an
like
entire project solely is also a lot of work. Like you have to do take care of every bit and stuff, from the
Yeah,
ideation
but I
stage
love
to the
music.
execution.
But that's where I'm very lucky because Arpan's there, Sabi is there. I've had great before this. I was being managed by 4x4 Experience, who were great. So luckily I've had great management, and like they take care of a lot of, like, I take care of the music and I take care of like what the front end is, but I have so much support on the back end. Like, like Arpan will tell you, like, I call him once a day and he just has to hear my nervous rambling sometimes. Okay, bro, is this happening? Will this happen? क्यों नहीं होगा? परसों होगा या नहीं होगा? And like I'm like that. Like I'm always focused on work and getting more work and pushing it forward. So I've had a good support system, and with the current manager, with the Savi and now Arpan's there with him, is that they really believe in me doing what I'm doing, and they help me like execute it in the best way possible. So with the video, with the artwork I have with my friend Nikhil Kaur, who
Production
just frame
stuff,
by frame, he's put out a record. He's a electronic music musician himself. He's got an act called Frame by Frame,
frame
and
by
he just
frame.
put out a record called Driftwood yesterday. So he's on. So he's been helping me. So I have like a good bunch of people behind, like with me, who support like what I do, and try my best to support them as well. So like that helps. But like the way the enterprise works now is different because everyone's got their roles. Like like for me, I realized the problem was that there were too many people in the musical role. You know, and like for me, sometimes I'm just not concerned with making a song which is going to be the shadi dance number of the year. I could do it. Like I have connections here where I can like put songs like that. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, as Arsh Sharma or as a commercial project, but that's never been my aim. So that creative friction happened a lot. So creatively, luckily, there are not too many people in the process, and everyone is like, so when I give it to a music director, video director, like I let them do what they're doing. Savi with the management, I let them do what they're doing. So everyone's got their role. So the enterprise is a more functional enterprise, I would say, than it was in the past. Yeah.
So then you basically drifted apart and then got into the like doing FuzzCulture as a sole producer
Yeah,
of this
yeah,
project.
yeah, yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
That's beautiful. So you've been
yeah.
how long have you been doing it solely for?
Solo started in 2019. So now it's 3 years.
19.
Yeah,
3 years.
3 years.
Wow.
3 years, two records, one single right now. Yeah.
Yep, that's the. I
I
was
put,
just about to say that, like a lot of
yeah,
music already put out. So you just were
yeah,
very dedicated into like I have to do this, man. This is really good.
yeah. Matlab, it's like breathing, no? You have to
Uh-huh.
like,
It's an
matlab,
essential part
that's
now.
what you do. Yeah, it's essential part of life. And I love making music and putting it out. I don't like sitting on it. Like I like putting it out. I like going out for shows. I like getting out on the road. Like, and that's gonna start like this month. We're starting our shows. So
Wow.
like I told Arpan, now I don't want the shows to stop for the next 5 years. So now it's put on a podcast officially as well for him to see. So
Yep, here I
because
come to
he's going
disturb
to
you.
be
That's what
doing
I
the
do.
booking.
I just go around and
Yeah,
disturb people. That's what I do.
it's great. It's great. It's great.
Yep. I
No,
probably
it's
checked
great.
out your entire portfolio from music to
Huh.
your YouTube channel to your site, and
Huh.
you probably have a lot of achievements to talk about, which I
Thank
as
you.
a musician myself, I'm very proud to see such fellow musicians grow. As a, like it's just so soulful to watch.
Thank you so much,
So
man.
so you have performed in, I mean, I don't know, man, vast festivals from Hornbill to Sunburn to NH7 Weekender and whatnot.
Yeah.
So take us
Yeah.
through, when did FuzzCulture started touring, or did you start touring and did all of these big, massive stuff while you were doing it solely or with the duo?
It was with a duo and solely. So both. Like solely, I've done a lot of shows abroad. Duo has done a lot of shows abroad and in India. And the thing was, for it to be a dance project in the starting, right? It was always about it being live. So live was the main thing. So the pandemic has obviously slowed me down. This is the first time in my life I have played only one show in 2 years, right? So now that's why we're getting back.
That's a
But
pathetic situation.
yeah, like it feels so alien to me because I'm just used to like being on stage, and I love the stage a lot.
That's where
So
musicians are born, man.
yeah, it's a different vibe. Nothing feels as good as being on stage. You're also a musician. Like, what do you play
I
now?
play the guitar,
Like, do you have a band?
and I do stuff solely.
Oh, lovely. I love you. So send me your music, man. I'd love to hear it.
Sure, I would
I'm
love to,
so
man. I would
excited to
love to.
hear.
Yep.
I'm always looking out for more music. Amazing. Yeah,
Sure,
but
sure.
yeah, so I forgot the question. Now you can go on. Yeah,
Oh,
like I got
yeah.
distracted that you were a
Yep,
musician,
yep.
so I was like, that's very cool. Yeah.
Okay, so question. Okay, so basically, I was talking about. When did First Culture started touring? What was the first gig you got?
2012. 2012. That's when I officially announced us as like our starting. So we've done a lot of shows. I think we've done 200, 300 shows since then. So like, it's been good.
Fuck.
Done a lot of festivals, a lot of club shows. We've seen the ups and downs, we've seen the music scene changing, like being a flavor of the month to being not even the flavor of the 6 months to being back to being flavor of the month to again being discarded. But that's the nature of the music scene. It's you have to be a little thick
Like
skinned to
not
go
only
through
in
it.
music, I would say in every creative venture. Like you just have
Yeah,
these.
yeah, yeah. It's a roller coaster ride, and you have
Hmm.
to like somehow get over your the emotional aspect of how good or bad it feels. Like you have to just treat it as another day. So that's the thing I've learned. Like because I've been doing it now professionally, I would say for since I was like 17 or 18, so maybe 15 years now. So like so and you just have to keep going. Like you finish something, you don't get too attached to it. People listen, don't listen, learn from your mistakes and go on. So it was touring and playing live was there from the starting, and it's going to continue. And like for me, like I love talking to anyone who's interested in talking to me. I love playing with any venue who's interested in hosting us. Like so whether it's a big festival or it's some random place, like right before the pandemic, I remember playing Majuli festival. Like I don't Majuli. So that was such a crazy place, and it was all for the locals, and they went wild. It was like 5,000-6,000 people going, and that's one of my favorite gigs. So like, and for me, like, if you want me to be there, I'll be there. Like that's the way I look at my musical journey.
And
That
and
I
back to the
like
old
playing to
school
people.
days. If you don't want me, fuck off. Right.
Yeah, if you don't want me, fuck off. Like it's very simple. Like, if you like me, like my way of looking at things is that if you like me, I like you, and if you don't like me, I don't like you. Like
Simple.
there are no there are no unreciprocated love stories here.
Yep,
Like
yep.
like I believe in reciprocation of love. Like love people who love you, and if they don't love you, don't love them. It's okay. It's fine.
Or we can just say
Yeah.
fuck off. That's the staple of what
I'm
Indians
not like
use.
that now. I'm like old now, man. बुड्ढा हो गया थोड़ा सा. Like
बोलने
like younger
मैं
was
ये बोलने ही वाला था.
बुड्ढा हो गया थोड़ा सा. Calmer guy now. Now I'm like now I have an appreciation for most people. I think
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. We love you, man. We love you.
Cheers.
So, what was the first like the first gig you toured in India, or did you go abroad?
No, first was India. It was Delhi. We were doing a lot of
Delhi.
shows in Delhi, right? And then from Delhi, we
And I don't know,
was
man. Delhi
we
has 5,000 cafes and pubs and restaurants and clubs.
yeah, because I'll tell you, there's a reason for it also. Like because basically what's happened in Delhi, everyone whose land is damn rich, right? Anyone who got land at any point because it's such an expensive place. So what happens is that all the old dudes they give it to builders and they got multiple floors made. So all the kids now don't have to work for money. So when you
A
don't
lot
have to
of
work,
revenue
what do?
coming
You
in.
party. You party, right? So when you party, you need a place to party. So Delhi has that in scope because no one's really there's no culture of working in Delhi. Like it's a very funny thing,
Everyone
but
is already
Delhi
a
has
settled business person.
yeah. And if they're not settled, they've got two or three floors जहाँ पे rent आ रहा है उनका. तो no one's like Delhi has I would say like I love Delhi because it's such a wild place, but no one has to work there, and that's why like a lot of crime is also in Delhi. A lot of like for example, now I stay in Bombay, and like when I go out at night, like actually after Delhi, I have never felt scared for my life anywhere. Like in Delhi, I've had multiple instances of people pulling out a gun at me, which I
Oh
has
fuck
never
me.
happened somewhere. Yeah. Like I once went to eat butter chicken, and I was coming out, and this guy is completely smashed on like cocaine and like alcohol, and he comes out of his car and he's like, Zulfi, and he starts touching my hair. I'm like, क्या कर रहा है भाई? Then he's like, क्या बंदूक के डर गया? He takes out a gun on my chest, and this is right outside a place where I've just had dinner. So Delhi is a different scene, dude.
डिनर के
And
बाद
Delhi,
गोली.
Gurgaon is even worse. Like, and I've studied in Gurgaon. So after
Yeah.
that, you go anywhere alone. You don't feel scared of anything. You're like, kitna bura hoga.
मार देगा और क्या
हाँ
हुआ?
नहीं, people everywhere else seem to have a sense of space. Like Delhi is not like that. Delhi is a wild place, so like if you've been to Delhi, you'll know. Like you know what it feels like there.
I really want to visit the place for the food and the culture and all of that stuff. And we have this
The culture is
typical.
shit, food is great. Yeah.
Okay. So I was wrong on that point. By the way, you should
Culture is you
definitely.
might get mugged. You might get mugged or
Uh,
beaten up. That might happen. That's the only thing you have to be. Like
so
nighttime is not as safe as
that's
you
what
think.
defines the culture.
Yeah, matlab it's aggro. Like it's like
We
ladte
have
hain,
that common term, na, Delhi ka londa.
Delhi ka. When I came to Bombay actually for the first time with my studio and my partners, the name we wanted to put for a commercial venture because I do a lot of commercial work as well. So we were all doing we come here for commercial ventures. Was Delhi ke Londe, and that's what we wanted to name ourselves as an act. I'm Delhi ke Londe. I was like it's cool. Like,
Delhi ka londe dot studio.
huh.
That's a sexy name. Would have
Yeah,
gotten a lot of more work for that one. People
yeah,
would
man.
come
I
for the
was
name.
thinking. Yeah, that was the
ये
idea.
सही नाम है.
Anyway, yes, I Delhi ke Londe. यही है. So
चलो.
when I came to Bombay also for the first time, I realized that people find Delhi people very loud and like kind of obnoxious and like
I've
I was
heard
like, yeah, you
this
have to
like
actually,
it's they're like aggressive probably.
yeah, aggressive. Yeah, and there is an aggression in North India. I will say that, like Delhi,
क्यों मतलब
UP,
क्यों इतना
Haryana.
frustration क्यों है?
अरे पैदा ही ऐसे हुए हैं यार खून ही गलत है
I'll
something
edit
wrong
this
in the
part.
blood and the genes yeah. खून ही गलत है यार उधर का हाँ
ये सही है. Um,
हाँ
when did you start touring internationally? And what was the place you went to?
that I think the first place we started was in 2013 so that
So
was
just 1 year after
Singapore
in
that
touring in
was
India.
yeah Malaysia and
Hmm.
Malaysia we'd won some award and then I was like let's just go and take the award like we'd won some Vima award there it's a
Yep, I was watching.
nice
Asia's
property
Independent Music Awards.
yeah so we'd won like thank you for existing it's one of their biggest awards so we'd won that
Yep. Hmm.
because they were like yeah cool thank you for existing and keep doing your shit so I was like yeah for sure I'll fly down and see
Here's
you
an award.
so I saved some money flew there and when we went there so made a lot of connections there contacts and from there we just started figuring out yeah let's just travel and play what's the big deal
And
so
that's
we
a beauty,
started
man.
touring yeah. So it was like, and for me, like if the venture is risky, I'm in, like let's go. Like, if you don't know whether it's going to be profitable or not, but let's do it. Like, let's just have some
And
spirit
sometimes
and
you just break even,
yeah.
not even.
Yeah. No, most of how a lot of times you're in loss when you're traveling international. So
That's for sure.
but not anymore, but back then, yes. So yeah, so it was like a चलते हैं देखते हैं worst case will be a great vacation we'll play to some new people we'll make some new friends and fans and or we might get hated who cares but let's just do it so that's always been my spirit for doing things like let's do it and let's see what happens yeah
That's the beauty. That's the beauty, actually. So when you got your first international touring, where was your excitement level, and what were you feeling from inside?
actually I was feeling damn scared because I'll
Okay.
tell you the story when I was traveling to Malaysia for the first time I was traveling via Malaysian Airlines and I got on that flight. It was, I'll tell you also, March 13th, 2013. If you remember, 2 days before MH370 had disappeared.
Probably a plane was lost from the.
Yeah, and it still hasn't been found, right? And I
Oh,
was
so
on the
you were
same
also
flight
thinking
two
that
days
maybe this
later.
is not the plane.
I was like, I'm gonna fucking die. And my family hasn't traveled abroad, right? So, like, I'm the first person, like, heading out to different countries. So, I was like, I'm gonna die. So, I was just like, just get me a lot of wine. And back then, I used to be like a heavy drinker. So, I was like, just give me your booze, dude. Like, so I'd just go, I'd get smashed, and I was like, let's do a good gig and come back. So, like I try for me, like, I don't really. Get excited because sometimes when you get excited it's a bit of a letdown because you especially when you're doing something of your own right you get excited and you think
And you fuck
a
up on
lot
stage.
of people will like it and like maybe it'll be amazing but sometimes things just don't go your way and that's the part of being a musician so like for many years I've been like I'm excited I'm nervous but it could go either way, and that's the way it is, so
Yep.
the more you keep your emotions in check and actually focus on performing, like for me, when I was younger and I would get nervous, or if there weren't many people or people didn't care, which happens a lot when you go up on stage, right? Then I would just get like wasted drunk on stage. And I played so many gigs, I don't remember, like, like in Singapore, I remember we done Music Matters, and after that, I'd gone to a party and I was drinking, and like I fell down on the curb on the street, and I broke my entire this part, and I did the next day,
Oh
and I didn't
shit.
even remember because I was so pissed drunk, and I woke up in the emergency room in
Oh, oh,
Singapore
oh. Who
with
took you
12
there? Who took you there?
stitches.
Your friends and
Region was there. Luckily, that time that was in a two, we were in a two piece. He was so pissed with me. And they couldn't operate on me the entire night because I was drunk. So they couldn't take my consent. So morning I woke up with my head swollen, and then they stitched up the whole thing. And then I got out, and I didn't have insurance. So I had to pay for it from my credit card, which like took a long time to fucking finish out, you know. And then I played a gig that evening. So like I used to do a lot of that back then. Now I don't drink, but like back then it was like I used to be quite a crazy drunkard at a point in time, especially during times of playing gigs because it would really loosen me up. Yeah.
okay. Wow, wow. And what was your reaction next morning you got up? अबे ये क्या कर दिया?
I was like, "ये क्या कर दिया यार?" And then the hotel was like, I came to the hotel. Somehow I fell on the curb. The taxi driver ran off. I'm in a different country. My head
Oh.
is bleeding, like it's bleeding like crazily. And I'm walking into my hotel. I don't even know. I came back to the hotel, and the hotel's like, "Sir, your blood stains are into the entire carpet of the hotel." And I'm
Oh.
like, shit. Like, this
अब तो
doesn't look
पक्का
good.
निकाल देंगे.
Huh. Nikala nahi, but I was like, it's still a joke there. Like, whenever I talk to those guys, like, it's still a joke.
Oh.
Like, Music Matters guys still joke about it. Yeah. They're
याद
very
है वो
cool.
पल
हाँ हाँ हाँ
जब खून निकल रहा
yeah.
था?
हाँ.
ये सही, बहुत सही. Uh, so you tend to blend a lot of pieces of musical influences and ideas in each and every track you
Yeah.
have. Take us through
Yeah.
that. Like, how did you start composing one track, and does the idea come from your previously recorded, or maybe tomorrow yesterday recorded idea library, or it comes just instantaneously and you're like, nahi, isse kuch ban sakta hai. This is an inspiration.
The basic like I would say, the chord and the melody is set when I start, and
Okay.
then with the production, I let it go anywhere it can. So it's like I'll start adding a beat, or I'll start taking out a beat. Like with Breeze, the thing
So
was to
exploring the
Breeze.
limitations.
Yeah, Breeze, it was like, because with DAWs, what's happened is that you can layer very easily now. So the idea was to not have layers, so the vocal is single, the bass line doesn't change, there's only a single synth part. So it was an exercise in how much, let's try to make a really cool song out of the least amount of elements possible, because with computers and the studio tech you can do a lot of layering,
And a
and
lot
I
of
started
tech and
getting
all
bored with
now.
that. Yeah, so every time it is like different, like it's like what I'm listening to at that point of time, like how that influences what I'm liking at that point of time. And it's kind of like I'm always fighting between trying to make a dancey track or like a pop track, or like what version do I want to make of this track. So I could make probably 8 or 9 versions of the same song. So
Wow.
like, so it's a process of elimination, and like you add a lot of things and you subtract. So it's like it's like playing, it's like painting, like it's just like you keep trying and failing, and like luckily with digital tech you can go back to it the next day, go back to in a week, and see where you are. But sometimes like the whole thing, the arrangement, the song comes fully formed in my head, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. So yeah.
It's an easy flow of process thoughts that goes on
Yeah.
writing that.
And luckily I've been doing studio work for so long that translating it is not very tough for me. Like, like I can sit in an hour or a couple of hours, have the bones of the production out, like, sing the vocal line. The lyrics take a bit of time, because I like the lyrics to also be a little fantastical, a
Yeah.
little like a little dreamy, so yeah. So it's the lyrics, I think a bit about, although in dance music, ideally it's better if you don't have lyrics, because then you can just play DJ sets. But it's like a part of my music that I always want to put out, because like I love like wordplay and lyricism. That's something I'm very, very attracted to.
Sure. And of course, producing music which is of high production quality is kind of easy these days, and also you have to like pay softwares to use. You have to use neural
Yeah, yeah,
DSPs and all of that. Actually,
yeah, yeah,
factory
yeah.
presets and
So
all.
for me, like I like to use like my synths and all. I keep analog, so I still like to record my synthesizers, record
But
my
not
beats,
MIDI and
like
all.
there is a lot of MIDI, obviously, because it's electronic. So
Yep.
a lot of MIDI, but it's a lot of sampling. It's a lot of like synth work, and it's a lot of sometimes I play the part, sometimes I play the guitar. I won't play the guitar. I have Max effects here also, so I have a couple. So I'm like ultimately like everything like coming from. So I make MIDI, then I reroute it to analog, and I re-record it.
So it's an
And then I
amalgamation of
mess with it
everything.
live. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so it's an amalgamation of the digital and the analog world, and that's what I like even about singing. Like I may not have the best voice, but it's the only voice I have, so I still do it. So it's fine. Yeah.
This brings me to the question: when you thought of started making music, did you
Uh,
particularly had that? Okay, I have to learn maybe production. I have to learn. So, what part you were interested? You were interested in learning instruments, singing, dancing, or whatever it is.
when I started, it was just playing metal guitar
Okay.
and
So you have that
writing
Gibson
songs and
Flying V
singing. No, no, I had the old PRSs,
PRS.
PRS,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the yeah. So I've always liked the Gibson forms, right? So like now I'm endorsed by this company called Blade. I've got an ESP guitar, which ESP also gave me a few years back. So when I started was purely about metal guitar playing, and forming like that. But then when I started writing songs with other people, a lot of people weren't into metal in my friend circle. So then it became like grunge and post grunge, and then like Nine Inch Nails, Tool, Radiohead, those type of acts. That was my initial love, like, and that's what the circus sounds like a lot, like especially that Tool and Radiohead influence. Like, if you want to hear some of that, you know, yeah.
One of those bands just really old, the Gojira or Gohira, whatever it's called. It's
Gojira
not
is a
decent.
great band. That's a newer
Yep, yep.
band. Like I was into much
Mm-hmm.
older metal. Gojira is very like for me, it's a new band. Like
Uh-huh.
like for me, like the stuff I like is like Exodus, Testament, Overkill.
Okay.
But like post college, it's been mostly like I love electronic dance, like especially left field electronic music. So a lot of indie electronic artists, like artists who sing, who are one piece acts. Like right now, like Grimes is one of my favorite. Magdalena Bay is an act which is really cool. I was listening to a Notion record, Two Shells. So very like cool newer bands and newer acts, like I would say. They're not even bands. So that's the kind of music I'm into, which is always on the cusp of being singer-songwriter and dance music fused into something.
So
Yeah.
learn the keyboard first to probably.
No, no. I learned the guitar, and from the guitar, I was really good at it. I'm really fucking good at guitar. I have to say that much. Like I'm very good at guitar. So you hear the circus stuff also. So the guitar was my main instrument. Keyboard I still don't play very well, but like I play my parts and then I quantize them, I reprogram them. So yeah, so for me it's been like with production, it's a very deep dive. So like even on our FuzzCulture channel, I did a whole music production series for people to
Yep,
follow.
I've
So you can
seen
actually look
the
at.
low
Yeah,
videos.
yeah,
How to do this? How
yeah, yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. So a lot of that type of stuff.
I
Yeah.
stock a lot of things, man. Well,
Cheers,
now
man.
क्या
You're very cool.
करूं?
Uh,
um,
uh,
Probably a couple of few more questions, and then I'll set you free,
yeah.
and
Done,
then,
done.
then I'll say you, then I'll say you I love you.
Uh,
What about
I'll say.
uh, how has in your eyes as a musician, music industry, like talk about on this topic? Like I want to
Hmm.
really brief, like what is
Yeah.
this term music industry? What it is? So many things.
It's basically a large black to white money conversion scam.
Okay, okay. Build upon that. I like that word.
That's it. It's nothing. Like fundamentally, you have to realize it. There are a bunch of people who are monetizing sound waves which are thrown into the air. It's like you're trying to monetize an unmonetizable product, and so it's like there are two industries. One is the artists. Like there are the expressionists and the communicators. So the expressionists would be like what fast culture is. I consider to be expressionist. Like I'm doing what I do and I want to do it the best way I can, and then I try to communicate it. So I think of what I want to say first, and
Yeah.
then I
So here's
communicate.
what. Yes. So here's what I come in.
Yeah,
Like, sorry to interrupt, but here's what I'm coming.
yeah,
like there are probably two ventures. One is the music, and one is the music business side of things.
Yeah, so the business side is very different. And the business side, then a lot of time it becomes about trends, what's in right now, what people are listening to, and
Where the money
kind of like
is,
just whether see, it's kind of sad because it's actually not the fault of the industry as well, because
like you
you
have to
think
pay your
about it, most
electricity bills,
people
like
don't.
you need money.
No, that's not the thing I was saying. I was saying like
Mhm.
the quality of music is quite low in the
Yep, I
commercial
agree.
sector, and that's because most people don't really like music that much. If you think about it, like you're a musician,
Attention
you love it,
span,
I
there's
love
a
it.
death of attention span. We don't even
There's a
listen to a
dearth of
6 minute
attention
long song.
span. So what's happening is that people are just जो आता है वो सुनते. There's so many, even back in the day it was like radio. What's on the radio is what I listen to.
So too much
So
availability, less scarcity.
uh, yeah. So and so what happens is that in that type of thing, it's whoever's got the best McDonald's model wins. So like McDonald's is not a burger business,
Yep, it's a
so
real
I would
estate
say the
business.
commercial music, McDonald's is a real estate business. Yeah, like you said, like so similarly, the commercial music business is not a music business. It's a everything around it business, and the music is kind of the product it's
It's
packaged.
just the entry.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's that also is like if you see pop songs, like there's a reason why no pop singers write their own songs. There are producers who write for them. Like even I do that a lot,
Because they
and
understand, okay,
for
this
other
can
people.
hit this million views and I can get this much
Yeah.
amount of
So for
revenue.
no, and the hit also, that is a lot of people don't know that, but that's directly to do with how much money is put in the marketing.
Yep, sure.
And so
So you have to
basically,
have a
what you do
ROI
is you
and all
kind
of
of
that.
yeah, so you kind of have to like pop music is like a McDonald's burger. It's very similar to McDonald's burger in the sense that you make the easiest consumable product, which will be liked by the most number of people
And
in
then scale
theory,
it.
and then you scale. So it's business wise, that's it. So that's that's like, and then you see the whole influencer generation also, like that's just like either a lot of skin or just a lot of depression. That's it on the internet, right?
A
That's
fake
very
beauty.
scalable. Yeah. It could be fake, it could be real. I don't know. Like I'm
Mhm.
not judging it, but the fact is that that's just what people resonate with very simple ideas. So simplicity backed with money is generally that business. So that's not really. It's a create. It's I would say it's more akin to a design business. It's more akin to like a tech business making a phone than it is with art. Art is slightly different. So that's the way I look at it. So I have no problem with the commercial business because I do a lot of work in the commercial sector as well. But that's more as a creative service, and this is more about
First
artistic
culture.
expression, and yeah, it's more about who you are. So that separation has to be clear. Where creatives get lost, even I get lost a lot of times, is that how do you separate what's required by that guy to scale versus what you want to do. So
That's a
that's
tough
that's
decision
the
to
only
make.
thing. It's a tough decision, but if you think clearly, and if you're a design student, like I'm an architecture student, like architecture you can't do on your own, right? You're always doing for clients. So there you think of it like this is what this thing needs right now. It's not about you. Like for example, if I'm doing a score for a film, I've done a couple of films in the past. I have a few more projects coming in the next 2 years. So the film is not about me. The film is a story. The story is someone's vision. That vision is coming out of light, and all I have to do is
Just
highlight
complement the
highlight
vision
the
of that
emotions
producer with your music.
of the vision of the producer, and the more the better I am as a listener and as like a follower of film rather than music, then I'll know that even one note can do the job that 10,000 notes can do. So you have to think differently in the commercial sense. You're not going to think of it in the sense that I want to make the greatest piece of music. No, you want to serve what whatever project you're on the best way you can. And that may not be something you like, so that's a decision you have to take. So like I think like being in the commercial music business is a lot like being a designer, like a lot like being a designer or being a architect than it is like being a musician or an artist. An artist is different from a designer,
Yep.
you know. Yeah.
So uh, education, your education on architecture is really helping you design stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Like architecture, I've studied music also. I've studied music production. I've studied music composition from New York University. So like film scoring, like I've studied. So like yeah, it helps. It doesn't help that much because like in India, if you ever spoken to people from abroad trying to break into India, India is one of the toughest markets to break into because it's rationality doesn't work. So so over here, like you can't be a purely logical type of person. Like Germans have a hard time breaking into India. Like logic and time doesn't work. It's a lot of interpersonal relationships. It's a lot of like figuring out what the guy on the other end wants. And sometimes figuring out who's the guy with the money and what does he want. So because like you have to think about it. Like we're a country which is, I think a lot of the country still doesn't have proper food to eat. How do we have such a big entertainment industry? Because like back in the day, it was a way to, and still is, to convert India, like has a huge black shadow economy, right? It's a way
Mhm.
to convert shadow money into real money, right?
So that
So
again
black
connects and
money,
contradicts to the first
yeah.
thing you say.
So yeah. So what happens is that a lot of people who are financing your big projects are not are going to have a very different mindset. They've come from a mind. They've probably maybe they're running a tobacco company or they're running a pan company
All
or a
of them are
builder.
businessmen and entrepreneurs, so they have to think from their
No,
lenses.
I won't. Businessman entrepreneurs is a very new thing. They're
Mm.
not businessmen entrepreneurs. You have to think about pre-90s. Like who really has the money to fund a film? A film takes 20 crores. A song to promote commercially will take 30, 40 lakhs per track promotional. Who has this much money? It's people who have that much money to spend. So these are people who made money pre-90s, pre-India opening up to liberalization. So the people who are actually financing a lot of stuff aren't very artistically bent. Secondly, the big problem of the commercial industry is that India doesn't have art colleges and India doesn't have music colleges,
I
especially.
agree. I agree.
So music appreciation is not something that's taught. Like filmmaking is not something that's taught. It's something that we come and we start doing. You know. So what happens is that
We are like told to
that's a reason
be
why
doctors and
our country.
engineers, not
Yeah.
oh,
So
be a
yeah.
filmmaker
No,
or a
and there's no
musician.
avenue. Like for example, I would say I would like not even fight with the parents there because what else would they say? There are no art colleges. Like for example, when I studied in New York University, United States has really preserved its classical music by putting it into films. So those guys know that I'll be a part of a orchestra. We'll have nationwide exchange programs, and we'll get into films, and we'll be background violin and we'll have a career. Like India, the career is hit and miss, right? And it's based so much on just the relationship of money and trial and error. Because fundamentally, is the fastest way to, like for example, like if I make a film and I make it all with cash, I can pay everyone with cash. Then what happens with the film? It gets uploaded to a PVR or it gets uploaded to a Netflix. Then I earn back in white, right? So I have laundered my money. So if you
Oh,
understand money laundering, uh, what I'm going to get shot one day, but that's okay. Like like if you understand money laundering, you'll understand why the entertainment business is so big. And this is the way it's been even abroad. Hollywood was run by the mafia, like in the starting pre 50s, like Frank Sinatra, like early
thanks,
Hollywood,
Sinatra.
30s and 40s. Yeah, the when the movies were silent, right? Like it was run by mafia money because you think about it, right? That you've got all this cash which you can't spend and you're storing, and now I need to convert it to bills. How do I do it? Like I make a film, and so that's why construction, land ownership, and entertainment are the easiest way to launder money because you can pay because it's dehadi pe kaam hota hai. You pay everyone in cash, but the return is in white. So you've successfully
Yeah,
laundered. So that's the way so you
while
have to
enjoying tax
understand what.
benefits.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to think about why these industries are very big. Why India has like a mobile phone in everyone's hand but doesn't have proper electricity, but 4G is there. it's a very interesting case study. Like no other besides the United States, I don't know any other country which has such a big entertainment industry. It's got much more local industries, you know. So we're a very interesting case study. So being in Bombay is like it's weird, man, but it's cool. Yeah.
This takes back to me. I was reading a couple of books 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years back, and there was this thing written. India is fundamentally a poverty-driven country. This is not a wealthy country. The GDP is low, the per capita income is low, and of
Yeah.
course, uh, and it's not a fault of the parents because they have been brought up after the independence, and we couldn't expect them to say to us that go pursue music. I don't know what basis they
Yeah.
will say. They haven't seen anyone in their circle
You also have
succeeding
to think of it in
doing
that
music.
way. Back if you actually look at Hindustani music back in the day, sorry for cutting you, but
No.
courtesans, like a lot of music in Indian culture, especially Hindustani music, which is like, you know, which is not like music is very divided in India, like gharana music.
So my
Back in the
mom
day, a
was
lot
also a
of
classical
Hindustani music
singer, so I see the transition that has
yeah,
happened. Like no one listens to it
so
anymore.
yeah. And back in the day, it was like, especially early days, it was courtesan music, right? It was entertainment while prostitution was happening. So, like, you have to think of it in the way of where it's come from, and there's a lot of background baggage which a country like ours will have. And like, if you actually really understand the dynamics of power, you'll understand why it's advantageous for the rich to keep the poor poor. Because then you become like right now, I think India is a big data mining set, nothing else, and that's
Data
what
is
we are
the new
being used
fuel.
as. Yeah, and that's what you do. You can sell it to an Indian by keeping someone uneducated. You can actually send them an Android with Google and like all these apps pre-listening to your conversations, mining data on you, creating higher ad revenues for people abroad who market. So you know, so keeping the majority of people illiterate is very good for the people on the top. So illiterate, no, and no, I won't say illiterate, but keeping them away from financial freedom, you know.
Our financial
So
knowledge.
that's financial knowledge, financial freedom, or because then you're always slaving, right? You're not. How will you think about anything when all you're worried about is your bill, you know?
And that's
So
capitalism at its best.
yeah. And right now it's at its 70-year
Peak.
peak, I would say. Like the gap is too large between the rich and the poor,
98 to
you know.
2, probably.
Yeah, it's at its peak right now. Yeah.
And there's just two options. One, it breaks even and the gap slowly is a good thing. It's like maybe comes down to 90, 80, 70, and
Yeah.
30. And that's a
Yeah.
good thing because as a country,
Yeah.
economy will also grow. But I don't know, man.
Yeah.
India is a lazy country as well. We just have a few people who do big stuff in their life. Otherwise,
It's not lazy. It's actually it's like the politics of power, right? Like
uh-huh.
it's about, for example, like it's a country. If you see opportunistically, I have if I figure out how to rule my mohalla or my city, or I become a mayor or a governor or I become a politician, and then I am a businessman with him, right? Then I can monopolize entire thing. So country with less binding rules, and the lesser you let people have rules, will be always prone to monopolization, which is happening in the world right now. As people are getting poorer, like a few tech companies are taking over the entire space. Like if you think of the internet, we may live in a physical democracy, but we live in a virtual monarchy, you know.
Digital
Like
democracy as well.
there's no digital democracy. Digitally, we are slaves. We are slaves to four tech companies. Like we are still on Google. We're still funded by the same people. What data is allowed,
We
not
still
allowed,
go on
is
Flipkart
very
and
much
Amazon to
controlled.
shop.
Yeah. And it's the death of retail. You know, it's the death of small time players. Whereas that's the heartbeat of life. You know, like surviving. You know, so it's a strange time, but that there's a reason why India is poor. Like India doesn't have a lack of money. There's a lack of equitable distribution of wealth, which is very beneficial to a few people. Is what I would say about it. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That was a good left turn. I like this left turn. Good conversation. Yeah.
That's why I don't have scripts in podcasts. You know, we just
No,
talk random.
scripts are a waste of time. Yeah.
Yep. on a note of the term music business,
Yeah.
what advice would you like to give? So there are two parts to this question. Uh,
Yeah.
First and foremost, how important is it on a scale of percentage from 1 to 100 for a artist or a musician to learn this term or this process music business? And the second part of that question would be, what advice would you like to give from your experience, years of experience and playing and recording and producing music,
Yeah.
to a beginner musician or an artist, or probably if I would put it in more general, to any
Yeah.
creative person
Yeah.
who what is pursuing, and
Yeah.
uh, like how do you build upon that, like, and people for like they have been doing things for a while and for them also.
Yeah. Yeah. I think how important is it to know about the music business, right? I don't know, man. Depends on what you want. Like, it because like some artists, like you'll see a lot of artists who are like, yeah, we don't know anything about the business. But then they've got managers who do, right? They've got a system which does. And it's like how would I say? Like imagine being like when you let it's like being the son of a butcher. You know what I'm saying? Like you eat the meat, but you don't cut to kill the goat, you know?
uh,
So I mean it depends on whether you want to know where your shit comes from. Like I like to because I like for me, I think the music business, actually most business, to be a person like for me, like I've always been an entrepreneur since the starting. Like after college, I've never actually done a job. Like I didn't do a job straight out of college. I started a studio with nothing, right? I made a big studio in Delhi. I've come to Bombay, living here, still not working for anyone in particular, never, because like I like being in control of my life, you know. So I like understanding business, I like understanding how money works. Like it's very important to understand what money is, you know. And once you understand what money is, then you have to figure that do you want to earn it through your music or do you want to earn it through something else? Or if you want to or if you want to earn it through your music, how do you earn it through your music? You know, like for example, like on YouTube, you need 1 million views to make, I think, 50,000 rupees, you know, which is ridiculous. You know, it's a ridiculous amount. The gulf is extremely wide. So the question is, are you there? First is that I think people who love their music will never stop making music. Like, you know, like as artists will never stop making art. And we've got this amazing thing of the internet where we can actually have our art. Like if you think about folk artists, you know, like they've been lost, but
yep, yeah.
a lot of art hasn't. But now we can actually save our art online forever. So it's cool. But what do you want from it? You know? So the question is not whether you should learn the music business. The question is, what do you want from your life? You know? Like as a musician, for example, it's a question I've asked a lot of people. Like, if I really wanted to make the best music possible, did I really need to display it to you? What is the fact that I have a desire internally to go on stage, to have my song heard by you, to have my voice maybe resonated with, or even that desire for authenticity that I want to talk like this, I want to be me, and I want to be heard being me. So, is that a desire to create the best art, or is there a desire for your attention?
uh,
You know, what am I looking for? Am I looking to make music, or am I looking to change my life? You know, am I looking to create art, or am I looking to be respected for my art? You know, so the question is very deep. Like I think a lot of great musicians are never really heard, and no one knows about them. Like you think, like I'll say a very simple example. Like for example, Leonardo da Vinci. Like all of us right now will think that Da Vinci is great, but let's think on the counterpoint of the same thing. Da Vinci did his paintings in the 1500s, 1560, I think it started, right? And this is what, 2020. Imagine like a piece of cloth, right, which is painted on with brush, and you've got your home. There's painting on our walls, right, which has happened. How fast is paint decay? Very fast. How
uh,
fast is wood decay? Very fast. Imagine a piece of canvas surviving for 50 years. Do you know how much money that means?
Probably it was
So
sold for, I don't know, 20 million, 30 million, 50 million
it's
dollars.
not about being sold. The fact is, if you look at his life, he got in touch with the Christian churches, right? So he did a lot of church work. He got in touch with like the Spencer families and the earlier Rothschild families before that, where a lot of money was invested in that art. Patronage was given to preserve it. So, so was he the best artist of his time? No, but that's the only one we know of because he figured out how to preserve it by for example, he was a gay man, which is blasphemy according to the Christian church
Oh.
at the Catholic Church at the time, and he was the most prolific church painter along with Michelangelo. You know, so he actually went against his entire authentic sense of what he was for his art and to actually figure out a way to make his shit last and also to make a lot of money. He played the game and he played the system. So he wasn't the greatest artist. He may have been one of the smarter ones, like business wise. But was he the greatest artist? I don't know. So
There's a
like the
question mark.
question about, yeah, so the question, because we don't know any other artist from that time, you know, and that's the thing with which will happen with a lot of artists. Like you'll see something with 10 million, you put up any pop song, like you put up the top 100, it's the same fucking beat, it's the same 808 bass line, it's the same 8
Same
words.
4/4, same
I
bass
want
line,
to
same GCD chords.
same, which is fine because that's like the bread and jam of the masses, that's fine. But the question is, why is it there? Why are you doing it? What do you want from it? So I think if you're a business person, you'll get into the business anyway. Or if you do, so what do you want from your music? Do you want to get picked up by a label? Then you have to do what the label says. Are
Or
you
by the
good enough?
cops.
Like, or by the cops, or like for example, even if you get a signed deal, right? Like I've had a label owner, like this was when I was doing, who told me that, Arsh, you need to get thinner. I don't think you look good. That has nothing to do with my music. That has nothing to do with anything else.
Oh, I get
Straight
it.
up,
The
you
visual
know.
branding and stuff.
So are you the product? Do you want attention? Do you want your music to be very good? So there's a lot of questions. Like you really need to know about the music business for sure, so people don't take advantage of you. But first, you have to really know that why, what are you doing, what you're doing. You know.
So you have to really sit down
Yeah.
and ask
So
certain questions.
ask yourself, if you really love music, why do you want to display it? As a question to myself, I ask myself a lot that sometimes the freest I am is when I make music alone. Why do I have the urge to share it with you? I still don't know the answer at all. But it's a good question to ask. It
Yep.
helps you understand why you do some of the things. We do so many things unconsciously, man. So I've taken a complete left turn from your question, but that's what I feel. I think that you have to know what you want and why you're doing what you're doing. And the more specific and the more detail oriented you are, you can extract the milk from whatever you want to. You can suck the tit of whichever cow you want, but you have to know which cow's milk you want to drink first. So
Or maybe
that's the way
which
I'll
milk,
put that.
which cow has the milk.
Yeah, and no, and why do you want milk? Do you really need milk to survive? You know, do you really need to be the most popular musician in the world to be legitimate? Why do you want to be the most popular musician? For example, most of the popular musicians don't even want to be musicians. They're young kids who are signed on by contracts because they're good looking, and they're signed on by people because they're impressionable, and they don't know what the rights are. They don't know how to read contracts. You read contracts, is basically a music contract is a slavery contract. It's a very bad contract. Anytime you give your music to someone, it's one of the worst fucking things you'll ever sign. You know, so only like you look at the entire K-pop scene, they're kids. They're taken away
Yep.
at 12, and they're made to sign like basically bondage contracts. And who else will sign a bondage contract in 2022 besides a child or somebody who's really insecure and wants to be like, मैंने कुछ किया लाइफ में, तो क्वेश्चन
Validation.
है किसको दिखाना है आपको, किसको किसको दिखाना है, क्या दिखाना चाहते हो? Do you want to find people like you, or do you want everyone to know your name? They're all very different things.
Yeah.
Do you want to find your tribe, or do you want to find like power, or do you want to express yourself? They're all very different, man. Sometimes you can express yourself and no one can like it, but should it matter? I don't know. So
That's a
I,
tough one
I
to
I don't
answer.
know. Yeah, and would you still express yourself the same way if no one liked it? And then if you change the way you expressed yourself because someone didn't like it, then are you even creating art? You know,
There's a question
then are
mark
you
again.
creating art, or are you communicating? So there are too many questions. So I don't know how to answer it, but I would say, yeah, like, don't let people take it. Like, know when you're being taken advantage of. That's for sure. And then see the pros and cons. Sometimes it's okay to be taken advantage for a while, you know, and then come back later. It's fine. It all depends. Yeah.
Again,
So
it's a roller coaster
I don't
cycle.
know if it answers your question, but that's the way I
Yep,
look
I
at it.
love that. I love that. It answers a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Um,
uh, how important, or the second part of the question,
yeah.
any advice to any musicians, artists in two cases? Number one, if they're starting out and thinking of making a career out of music, for example. And second
Yeah.
is they've been doing things for a while, but seeing some results, not what they expect to.
Firstly, for people who are just starting out, just know that you taking it's like playing music and putting it out to people is like being naked in public. So I would say that you have to develop very thick skin, because you're
Yeah,
gonna get a lot of
yeah,
criticism. You're gonna
sure,
get,
sure.
as a career musician, you're gonna face more rejections in a day than people face in their lifetime. So you have to be very used to being told that you suck, you're not good enough, being rejected, having
I
your work shat upon by people who don't know much. And you have to get kind of used to it. That's the way it is.
That's
That's the
fine.
way the
It's
cookie crumbles. Yeah. So I think you have to develop thick emotional skin. That's the problem. Like the best art is emotional, but the worst business is emotional.
oh my god! Hey, repeat
So
this.
you have,
Repeat that line. Repeat that line.
yeah, the best art is emotional, but the worst business methodology is to be emotional. You know, so it's that's the fucking uh, problem of the war of art, because the less emotional you are, the likelier you'll be successful at your work and more influential you'll be. And the more emotional you are, the better art you'll create. The worst you'll be at putting it out, because you'll be very sensitive. So that's the big dichotomy of this. So that's one thing I would like. I would just be like, you have to have a thick skin. And for people who are doing it for a while and not getting results, you never get the results, man. I don't think I'm getting the results. Like,
That's a good answer.
like, yeah, you never fucking get the results. And the landscape is changing. Music is popular music, especially when you want to reach to more and more people. It's all about trend. It's all about
Hit and
teaching all the
trial.
new 18-year-old. Yeah, And I'm not an 18-year-old. I don't know what an 18-year-old thinks. I don't give a fuck. Like whatever. But you have to still reach out when you're doing it in the mass public space, making it a product commodity. So you have to learn how to, I think, like, disassociate yourself from the product. Like,
Uh,
so for me, like, my music, my artistry and my emotions end when my final master is done. Then I switch off from that to just what's the
अब
best
जो
way
होना
to
है हो.
communicate.
Shipped now.
Huh.
Next project.
No. I work very hard on the promotion side, but then I see it as a product. Then I don't want to look at it as, then it's not my art anymore, because the minute you're shipping it out, then it has to reach out to people.
And that's
So
done.
that's
Shut
my
off.
where the production, the high level production, like producing it the best you can, working harder on these things comes from there, to communicate more effectively, to be more articulate in my way of communication through even auditory senses. So like, the emotional part is when you're making the song. After that, it's all about communication. It's all about looking at this product, because that's a life you've chosen. You cannot choose it also, but that's a life I have chosen. So that's how I do it. And it's may not be helpful for a lot, because I'm a bit of a control freak. I don't like a lot of people holding me to huge contracts. So I may not take a lot of roads that other people take. Like, people will like to sign to labels, people will want to, like, make friends with the right organizers, do the right things all the time. Whereas I like having a control over what I'm presenting. So my trajectory is different, and you have to realize that your trajectory is what it is. And with music, I think, like, even if you start making a decent amount of money, which you do, like, if you work hard
Save
and
up.
long enough. No, yeah, save up, but the fact there is such a public work sphere of work, right? The amount of attention or a lack of attention affects you in a very different way. Like attention
So
will affect you, and a lack of attention will also affect you. So
both sides.
you have to like balance your emotional being, which is the toughest. You know, yeah, that's the only advice I'd want to give because there are people who are much younger than me, way more successful than I am. So, like, people obviously know a lot of things I don't. I may know a few things they don't, but that's okay. You know, yeah.
So it's a hidden trial game.
Yeah, it's a hidden trial thing. It's also about finding a space in the world more than that.
Ah.
Hidden trial is when you're trying to succeed, right?
So in
And
the
it's very
business,
goal oriented. Okay.
so in the business term, it's like finding the product market fit.
Yeah. Finding the product market fit, and also knowing whether you want to make your art into a product or not. Do you want to make, for example, like
And
the
there's a
best burger you
controversy.
have?
There's an entire controversy around this topic. Art shouldn't be
Yeah,
sold. I mean,
yeah.
we don't
It
know.
must be sold, because otherwise people won't do it. But the question is, you also have a decision on it. For example, like let's say I always like to compare it to food businesses. Like, do you want to make McDonald's? If you want to make McDonald's, then your trajectory towards what you're doing is very different. Or if you make the best burger restaurant in town, that is very different.
I
You know,
understand.
to make the best burger place in town, you've got to be unique. You've got to have a flavor no one else has. You've got to find your own way of cooking and doing that thing. But when you're making McDonald's, you have to figure out
How to get
what
more
is the
ROI
taste
out
that
of my
everybody
investments.
likes. How can I scale this to the next city? What is the real estate required in this? And the burger just has to not taste bad enough for someone to spit it out. You know?
So burger is
So
the midman between real estate and McDonald's. McDonald's.
yeah. So whatever it is, like, so there is, food is a very interesting way to think about it, because the best food in town is never a franchise. You know, so are you
Oh,
making a
that's it. Yeah.
franchise, or are you making the best food in town? So that's the question you have to think about. But everyone finds a way, man. Like, everyone's got to die someday, and like, you just do what you do. It's fine.
Keep looking, man.
Yeah.
Have butter chicken, get shot, and
Get shot, have a good time.
yep, get drunk up,
Yeah.
and wake up the next morning.
Yeah,
Uh,
but try not to do all these things. Like, I don't condone it. I don't do it at all anymore. Like, I'm such a sober guy now. So like a
uh,
Saturday night, and I'm gonna be working all night. Like, I'm an absolute, so like I'm the 30-year-old who doesn't want to do anything like that 30-year-olds want to do now. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Probably the last question for the
Yeah.
night we have, and I'll
Yeah.
set you free for sure.
Yeah.
So this is a rapid fire question. 3 questions in a set. One, you have put out music through a label called Universal Music India.
Yeah.
So what were the prime festivals you performed in, if you want to give a list?
My favorite festivals would be Music Matters in Singapore. Weekender is something that I really enjoyed playing. Sunburn, VH1 Supersonic, Majuli Festival I loved because of the people. And then there are a lot of festivals that I don't even remember now, but like, honestly, anyone who's ever had me on stage and wanted to put money behind it, I love you. It's great. Like, like from the smallest venue to the biggest festival, it's fine. Like, same amount of love, no difference. Yeah.
So you've also played gigs in Kuala Lumpur and all of those areas, Malaysia,
Yeah.
Singapore.
Yeah.
Do
Kuala
you remember how
Lumpur,
much?
Singapore, Reunion Island, UK, Dubai, what do you call, Hong Kong, Australia. Yeah, these are the different countries out of France. US, I had a tour booked, but that's when Trump got elected, so all the visas were held up, so I didn't go for to the tour. So yeah, so like played abroad quite a bunch. Yeah.
So a lot of stuff happened in your
Yeah.
FuzzCulture journey, right?
Yeah.
Probably when you will be 60, I can predict that you'll be writing a life story with FuzzCulture.
Yeah, man. When I'm 60, I'll be overlord of Bombay, bro. I'm telling you. You're the first person I'm telling this to you. I want to be the Don of Bombay.
I'll come to your house and I'll have some butter chicken and produce some songs.
Yeah, Don of Bombay, bro. That's my Don of the industry. Like, I know what I want to be.
That's sharp. That's sharp enough.
Yeah.
So what are we expect? What was your best gig? Like, it's a hard question to answer.
I don't know, man. A lot of them. Like I can't differentiate. Like I've had a lot of really great gigs, and I just can't. The best gig, hopefully, will be my next gig. Is the way I look at it. You
And
know?
that next gig never
Yeah.
comes.
Yeah, the next gig is on the 15th. So let's see.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
What was your worst gig, if you remember that?
My worst gigs are the ones I don't remember. Are the ones when I was young and I was really drunk or high, and I played
Oh,
my set, and I
okay. It's
have no
already
memory of
answered.
what I said on the mic, and I have no memory of the gig, and I have many such gigs where I have no memory of playing the gig. Like so, when I was younger, like yeah, because that's how I would counter my nerves by
Yep.
drinking a lot before playing. Yeah, so those would be some of my worst gigs, but some of them are great also. I don't know.
So the
Yeah,
great overlaps the worst.
yeah.
What are we expecting from FuzzCulture?
I think we haven't. I want to put out another single this year, and then next year we'll again be doing. I think 3 or 4 singles is the plan right now. Before an album in 2024 is what we're planning for, and like now I've set up like also a DJ set, so like I'll be playing a lot of DJ sets. So in the next 1.5 years, the plan is we're trying to put out another single this year. I also have like 3 singles which I want to put out next year, as well as the dance EP, non-vocal instrumental, purely for the floor bangers, and then maybe an album in 2024. That's the aim for the next 1.5 years, right? And we've already started booking tour dates, and we started like Arpan is looking out for gigs, and I'm hoping to not stop on the gigging front. We've also expanded from a live set to a DJ set, so we'll be doing live sets and DJ sets. So,
Wow.
like sets which are just for the night and just for like communion and commiseration, and like other sets which are more performance based. So like hopefully a lot of shows and a lot more, like at least like I would be saying at least 4 singles and maybe a non-instrumental EP and one album in the next 2 years is my aim right now. Yeah,
A lot
with
of work
videos,
going.
promotion plans, everything. Yeah. So that's the plan. Let's see how well it can be executed.
Yep.
And
Yep.
hopefully scaling each time like a little more.
So,
Yeah.
so next tour is in India, or you're thinking of going abroad?
No, right now we're looking at booking anyone who's booking us in India because the pandemic, and I know a lot of people started playing 7 months ago, but I'd lost a lot of family members in the last Delta wave. I'd lost a couple,
Oh,
so I was a little scared of playing in the first half of this year. So it's affected like how easy it is to book us right now, right? Because we've been very active on social media and releases, but not on the gigging front. Whereas a lot of artists started playing earlier because I have a lot of studio work, so my bills are mostly sorted because of that, right? And so I didn't get on stage for 7 months. So right now the idea is just to get back on stage as much as possible. Start doing whoever's booking us, just take the booking, go forward, and hopefully next year ke baad we'll start thinking of doing shows abroad as well. So that's the honest answer of it. Yeah.
well, there we go.
So try to get out of the
Really,
pandemic lull because my lull lasted a little longer. People
oh,
started like playing around January, December, but I wasn't so confident because of some of the extreme cases of COVID I'd seen
yeah,
happen
yeah.
around. Yeah.
Well, that was inspirational and a lot of knowledge to get. For the audience, I'm saying we come to an end, and with this, I'll probably set you free. But before that, anyone doesn't need an introduction for FuzzCulture, but still, I'll put all of the links this man has of his entire works in the description. Please check them out.
Yeah.
And once again, thanks from the bottom of my heart for coming now and taking some time out to do this.
Thank you so much. You're a lovely, lovely person to talk to on a
Thank you
podcast.
so much, man.
It was really interesting. We did so many tangents. It was amazing. And I wish you the best of luck in your life, man. And please
Thank
send
you
me
so
your
much.
music. I'd love to listen.
Sure.
And
That will be an honor
I
for
hope
me.
you become fucking successful. All right. Cheers
Yep.
and best of luck. Lots of love
Cheers.
to you.
Cheers. Thank you so much, and
Take
good
care.
night. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Good night, man. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye. Bye.